The gifts and the call are irrevocable. It's a hard word to say. The gifts and the call are irrevocable. What do the cashier at Kroger, the homeless man on the street, your doctor, Sister Ellen, Father Anthony, Pope Francis, what do they all have in common? They are all called. Everyone is called by God for deep union and friendship with Him. That is the universal call to holiness. Jesus speaks of this in the Gospel of Luke, and this gospel that he tells today talks about a literal banquet, inviting all to the banquet, the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind. But this banquet, this maybe physical banquet, represents the eschatological banquet in heaven. All are called. That call is irrevocable. All are called. We all have a call to holiness. That's the universal call to holiness, deep friendship, deep union with God. During this National Vocations Awareness Week, we reflect on our call, knowing that we're all called to union with God, but reflecting on that second level of vocation that we often talk about, which is our particular vocation or our state of life vocation, the way that we live out that universal call to holiness in our own lives, our particular calling. The church recognizes 4 different particular callings or state of life callings: holy matrimony, the priesthood, religious life, and consecrated single life. Each one of us, when we were created, before we were created in our mother's womb, were given a calling, a specific way to live out the gospel, a specific way to imitate Christ. Today, we have the great privilege of having some religious sisters visiting us from the Sister Servants of the Eternal Word in Alabama. We're very grateful for their presence today, and there will be a talk given, a testimony given by Sister Mary Faustina Bird after this Mass. You're all invited. There will be lunch. And we get the privilege of hearing a little bit about the call to the religious life. The religious life is the calling that imitates most greatly the reality that we will live in heaven. In that way, it's the highest calling. The religious, even much more than a priest, they live out the reality that we will all live one day in heaven by giving up their possessions, by dedicating themselves wholly to God in prayer and in their whole lives, and by living in community, a community that has the Eucharist and daily prayer as its center, that has Christ as its center. This week, I ask you to pray. I ask you to pray for all of us here in this diocese, but especially for our young people here at the UK Newman Center, that they might have the humility, that they might have the grace to follow God's particular call for their life.